Imagine this. A frozen wanderer from the distant stars catalogued as 3i Atlas drifts silently toward our inner solar system. At first, it seemed just another interstellar visitor, much like Oumuamua or Borisov before it. But then, something impossible appeared in the data. The James Webb Space Telescope, trained upon this faint and icy traveller, reported spectral signatures that should not exist. Oxygen levels mismatched with carbon, thermal readings that fluctuated not randomly but rhythmically. And strangest of all, a faint periodic dimming pattern, almost like a beacon. Now, astronomers watch in awe and disbelief as 3i Atlas continues its relentless approach on a trajectory that will bring it startlingly close to Mars. Could it be nothing more than a quirk of nature, a frozen fragment from a dead star system tumbling and gasping its final breaths? Or is it something else entirely? What if this is not merely a visitor, but a message, a machine, a secret long buried in the dark between the stars? The central question emerges quietly but firmly. Is 3i Atlas truly just an interstellar rock, or the first sign that we are not alone? To begin, let us slow down and step carefully into the realm of fact. For every mystery, every anomaly, there must first be a foundation of certainty. Without it, speculation drifts too easily into fantasy. And so, before we ask what 3i Atlas could be, we must first ask, what do we know for sure? Astronomy is, at its core, the study of faint lights and shifting shadows. Our entire knowledge of this interstellar visitor is built upon photons, tiny messengers that have travelled across millions of kilometres to be captured by our telescopes. The first confirmed detection of 3i Atlas came not from chance, but from deliberate vigilance. A network of automated survey telescopes, including the Pan-STARRS observatories in Hawaii and the Atlas survey itself, were scanning the night sky, mapping transients and searching for near-Earth objects. Amid thousands of streaks of data, one pattern stood out, a faint point of light that moved against the stars with a velocity no ordinary comet or asteroid could possess. Within days, orbital calculations revealed the astonishing truth. This was no bound object of our solar system. Its hyperbolic trajectory, its speed and angle of entry, confirmed it as only the third known interstellar object ever to be catalogued. Like Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019, 3i Atlas was born elsewhere, far beyond our sun's gravitational reach. It came from another star, another cradle of formation, perhaps even another galaxy. We are in effect peering into an emissary from the unknown, but what makes 3i Atlas different is what comes next. Telescopes and the hunt for truth. Once the object's unusual path was confirmed, the world's greatest observatories turned their eyes toward it. The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, with its unparalleled infrared sensitivity, provided the first detailed spectra. These readings measure the specific wavelengths of light absorbed or emitted by the object's surface and surrounding gas. In theory, this should reveal its chemical fingerprint. At first, astronomers expected something typical: water ice, frozen carbon dioxide, traces of methane, familiar signatures of comets that drift through the solar system. And indeed, some of those signals were present. But then, strange details emerged. The oxygen-to-carbon ratio was inconsistent with natural models of cometary formation. Instead of random sublimation, the hissing and sputtering release of gas as ice is warmed, 3i Atlas appeared to emit energy in carefully timed bursts. The fluctuations were almost rhythmic, repeating with a consistency more akin to a clock than to chaos. The European Space Agency's Gaia mission, which maps the motion of billions of stars, was able to provide additional precision in tracking 3i Atlas. Its course, when modelled backward, did not easily align with any known stellar nursery in our galactic neighbourhood. Unlike Borisov, which could be traced roughly to a region of star formation, 3i Atlas seemed to come from nowhere in particular. Is it possible that it drifted in darkness for millions of years, severed from its birthplace, until gravity nudged it toward our sun? Yes, that is the natural assumption. And yet, the data whispered of something more. Mars, the crossroads. Then came the revelation that deepened the tension. On its current trajectory, 3i Atlas will pass close to Mars. Not Earth, not Jupiter, not the outer solar system. But Mars, the world that has long captivated our imagination, the planet humanity dreams of one day calling home. Is it coincidence? The rational mind insists it must be. Yet the storyteller within us wonders, why Mars? Mars has always been the stage for speculation. From the earliest telescopic sketches of canals in the 19th century to modern-day rovers trundling across its dusty plains, Mars embodies our longing for connection with life beyond Earth. And now, by chance or by design, an interstellar visitor sets its path not far from that crimson world. The language of data. To the scientific community, the grounding always begins in data. Consider the 3 pillars of observation. Spectroscopy, the fingerprints of light. JWST's instruments show molecular bands that shimmer strangely. Some elements align with natural ices, but others defy easy categorization. Could laboratory experiments replicate these readings? Possibly, but so far no match has been perfect. Photometry, the subtle changes in brightness. Ground-based telescopes, as well as Hubble in orbit, track the way 3i Atlas brightens and dims. Natural comets vary unpredictably, shedding gas as solar heating triggers uneven activity. But here, the pattern is more regular. Could it be rotation? Could it be geometry? Or could it be something designed? Trajectory, the silent curve through space. Every comet feels the sun's gravity, and every comet emits gases that nudge its path. These are called non-gravitational accelerations. Oumuamua puzzled scientists with just such a deviation. Now, 3i Atlas shows hints of a similar effect. Not random thrusts, but almost directed adjustments. The comfort of the natural. Scientists, by their nature, prefer restraint. The cosmos is vast and strange, but history has shown that unusual data often yields to ordinary explanations. Thus, before imagination leaps to the extraordinary, astronomy must anchor itself in the ordinary. And so, the grounding continues. Perhaps the chemical oddities are the result of cryovolcanism, ancient ices cracking under stress. Perhaps the rhythmic signatures are artifacts of observation, subtle errors magnified by distance. Perhaps the trajectory, seemingly deliberate, is nothing more than the chaotic push and pull of uneven jets of sublimating gas. Yes, that is what the textbooks would suggest. That is the story the rational mind tells itself. But then, a quieter voice returns. If the universe is truly stranger than we can imagine, should we not also imagine boldly? Building the stage. This is the foundation. 3i Atlas is real, confirmed, and interstellar. It has been tracked by the world's finest instruments. Its chemistry and behavior defy easy explanation, and it is heading toward a close encounter with Mars. No one disputes these core facts. What they mean, however, that is where the mystery begins. And so, as scientists prepare their instruments, as space agencies adjust their schedules to capture every scrap of data, the rest of us are left to wonder, what story is this object telling us? Is it the simple tale of cosmic debris, flung from one solar system to another? Or is it something deeper, a hidden chapter in a narrative we have only begun to read? The hypnotic question loop. What if? These rhythmic pulses are not random, but intentional. Could it be that 3i Atlas carries with it a pattern, a design etched into its very emissions? Is it possible that as it nears Mars, we will finally learn whether this is a natural wanderer or something more? For now, we hold to the grounding of science. We trust in data, in observation, in the instruments we have built. But as night falls and telescopes turn toward the heavens, we cannot help but feel the whisper of a larger question. If this is only the beginning, what comes next? The universe speaks in patterns. For centuries, astronomers have trained their eyes and instruments to listen for those patterns. The predictable orbits of planets, the dependable glow of distant stars, the slow and silent waltz of galaxies across the dark. When something breaks the pattern, it commands our attention. 3i Atlas, like every interstellar object before it, should have behaved according to these known rhythms. A piece of ice and rock tumbling along its hyperbolic path, responding passively to the sun's light and gravity. That is what science anticipated. That is what the models declared. And then the first anomaly appeared, a pulse in the darkness. On a crisp night in Chile, at the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope, a team of astronomers watched 3i Atlas in the near-infrared. They expected a faint, fading glow. Instead, what they recorded looked strangely alive. The object brightened and dimmed in intervals. Not randomly, as gas jets might sputter, but with a persistence that defied coincidence. Every 7 hours and 41 minutes the signal dipped. Faint, consistent, predictable. At first, the team suspected rotation. Many small bodies tumble in space, and as they spin, sunlight reflects differently, creating a light curve. That explanation made sense until they checked the amplitude. The change in brightness was far sharper, more abrupt than any tumbling comet or asteroid had ever shown. It was not a smooth curve, but a step, as though something were deliberately blocking, then releasing the light. Is it possible that a natural shape, perhaps a flat shard of rock or ice, could mimic such precision? Could it be that geometry alone, under the right conditions, could carve such a signature? Or was the pulse a message, ticking steadily like the heartbeat of something artificial? Echoes of Oumuamua. This was not the first time such an anomaly had surfaced. Back in 2017, Oumuamua, the very first interstellar visitor, had shown a light curve so bizarre that scientists described it as unlike any object ever seen. Flat, elongated, tumbling chaotically, it did not match the profile of a comet, nor an asteroid, nor anything in between. And now, years later, 3 Atlas revealed its own enigma. Not chaotic, but precise. Not irregular, but steady. Could it be that interstellar travellers all carry some fingerprint of strangeness? Or is there a deeper connection, a hidden thread weaving these wanderers into a pattern we have yet to recognise? The radio question. Naturally, when optical anomalies appear, the next step is to listen. The SETI Institute, always alert to whispers from the cosmos, turned its radio telescopes toward 3I Atlas. Night after night, dishes across California and beyond listened in silence. Mostly they heard nothing but static, cosmic background, interference from Earth. But on the 3rd week of observation, a faint burst was logged. Narrow band, brief, just above the natural noise. Too faint to be decoded, too short to be repeated. A glitch? An earthly signal bouncing back? Or the ghost of something more? The scientists remained cautious. One signal does not make a discovery. But even as they dismissed it in their official reports, many of them privately felt the stirring of unease. After all, the signal had aligned with one of the brightness dips. Coincidence or correlation? Mars in the equation. The anomaly grew more intriguing when orbital dynamics were considered. The pulse interval, 7 hours and 41 minutes, matched suspiciously well with the geometry of the upcoming Mars flyby. If the object were rotating naturally, its dips in brightness should have no particular relation to planetary positions. Yet simulation suggested that, as it neared Mars, the pulse would align in such a way that one side of 3I Atlas always faced the planet, almost like orientation, almost like intent. Could a natural fragment tumbling blindly through space maintain such an alignment? Or was there something guiding it, ensuring that the red planet remained within its gaze? The problem of temperature. Another layer of strangeness came from thermal data. Infrared readings showed hotspots across the surface, regions warmer than their surroundings. That much is common in comets, where sunlight strikes unevenly. But here, the pattern was inverted. Instead of the sunlit side warming more, certain areas remained mysteriously heated even in shadow, as though an energy source buried within was radiating outward. Some speculated about radioactive isotopes, the slow decay of elements releasing heat. But calculations did not add up. The intensity was too high, the distribution too neat. Could it be that something inside 3I Atlas is generating energy? Is it possible that we are looking not at a frozen rock but at a shell containing machinery? The community divides. As news of the anomaly spread through scientific circles, the community split. On one side were the skeptics. They reminded everyone of past embarrassments, false signals, overinterpreted data, the temptation of sensationalism. They argued that every anomaly, no matter how bizarre, must eventually yield to natural explanations. After all, the cosmos is vast. Probability ensures that outliers exist. On the other side were the dreamers. They pointed out the rhythm, the alignment with Mars, the unexplained heat. Too many coincidences stacked together, too many echoes of past mysteries. The debates were passionate but always restrained, for the tone of science is careful by necessity. Yet beneath the caution lay a current of quiet exhilaration, the possibility that this might be the first true crack in our cosmic solitude, humanity's reflection. And here is where the listener must pause. Close your eyes. Imagine the object, small and dark, gliding silently through the infinite sea of night. Imagine the pulse of light, faint but steady, repeating endlessly against the background of stars. What does it remind you of? A lighthouse? A heartbeat? A ticking clock counting down to something unknown? The human mind is wired for patterns. We cannot resist turning mystery into meaning. And yet, what if meaning truly lies there, waiting for us to uncover it? Returning to fact. To anchor ourselves once more, let us restate the core anomaly clearly. Observation. 3i Atlas brightens and dims with a fixed interval of 7 to 41 man. Hypothesis 1, natural rotation. Contradiction, brightness dips are too abrupt. Amplitude inconsistent with tumbling geometry. Hypothesis 2, outgassing jets. Contradiction, regularity too precise. Gas release is typically chaotic. Hypothesis 3, instrument error. Contradiction, multiple observatories across the globe confirm the same pattern, and so the anomaly remains unresolved. The unasked question. Could it be that this is the first deliberate signal humanity has ever received? Is it possible that what we see as a dip in light is, in fact, a form of cosmic semaphore, a rhythm encoded by an intelligence beyond our own? For now, science stops short of such claims. But the mind does not stop. The imagination lingers. The questions whisper in the silence between each pulse. What if 3i Atlas is not just passing by? What if it is watching? When the first anomaly emerged, the pulsing rhythm of 3i Atlas, the reaction was immediate, yet uneven. Science thrives on debate, but humanity thrives on story. And suddenly, the story of a distant interstellar traveller shifted from quiet observation to headline mystery. The scientific world awakens. In the United States, the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory convened an emergency working group. Specialists in orbital dynamics, spectroscopy and planetary defense gathered in late-night calls. They had dealt with oddities before. Oumuamua's strange acceleration, Borisov's pristine cometary chemistry. But the rhythm of 3i Atlas was something different. Reports were compiled, peer-reviewed and shared through guarded internal channels. Unexplained periodicity, one document labelled it. Another, more daring, asked outright, artifact or artifacted data? In Europe, the European Space Agency, ESA, issued a public statement urging calm. Their message emphasised natural variability and further observation. Yet behind closed doors, ESA scientists quietly petitioned for more telescope time, diverting resources from other projects. Something in their tone betrayed unease. Meanwhile, in China, the National Space Science Center declared 3i Atlas a priority target. Plans were drafted for the Fast Radio Telescope, the world's largest single-dish antenna, to monitor the object around the clock. Official communiques described it as a scientific opportunity of historic proportions. Yet state-run media adopted a subtler framing, an interstellar object on its way to Mars, hinting at cosmic significance. The choice of words was deliberate, and in Russia, where astronomy often carries both scientific and symbolic weight, the Russian Academy of Sciences convened a session. One official, in a leaked transcript, asked, "If this is artificial, whose flag flies upon it?" The question was rhetorical, but its implications resonated. The public narrative. News outlets around the world seized the story. Headlines range from cautious, "New interstellar visitor shows strange signals," to sensational, "Alien beacon approaches Mars." In talk shows and podcasts, experts debated politely, but the underlying tension was clear. To the average viewer, the facts seemed almost too perfect. A strange interstellar traveller, pulsing like a message, on its way past the very planet that had long embodied our dreams of contact. Social media turned the anomaly into a cultural phenomenon. Hashtags trended globally. Atlas signal, pulse from beyond, Mars visitor. Amateur astronomers posted grainy telescope images, claiming to see flickers. Conspiracy theorists wove elaborate tales of cover-ups. Poets, musicians and artists drew inspiration, turning data points into metaphors. What if this was the first page of a new chapter for humanity? What if we were witnessing in real time the opening act of a cosmic encounter? The division among experts. Within academia, the divide sharpened. One camp, the skeptics, argued firmly that all anomalies must first be explained by physics. Rotation and albedo variations, they insisted. Outgassing jets, instrument sensitivity, nothing more. To them, suggesting intelligence without definitive proof was irresponsible. The other camp, the speculators, were quieter but persistent. They did not claim that 3i Atlas was artificial, but they pointed out how its pulse aligned too neatly with simulations of its Mars flyby. They noted how the thermal hotspots did not fit simple models. They reminded colleagues of Oumuamua's unsolved riddles. One astrophysicist speaking anonymously was quoted, "We're not saying it is, we are saying it might be, and that possibility alone changes everything." Governmental calculations. Beyond science, governments considered practical implications. In Washington, security officials asked bluntly, if this were engineered, could it pose a threat? Could it alter Mars' environment or affect satellites orbiting the planet? The Pentagon quietly placed the object on its situational awareness watch list. In Beijing, strategists viewed 3i Atlas through a different lens: opportunity. If a probe or artifact truly approached Mars, China wanted to be the first to study it up close. Rumours spread of contingency plans for redirecting existing spacecraft to intercept, or even launching a rapid response mission. In Moscow, discussions were more symbolic. Some officials suggested framing 3 Atlas as a cosmic gift, echoing Cold War-era rhetoric of space destiny. And in Europe, leaders urged caution, emphasizing global cooperation. ESA circulated proposals for a shared international observing campaign, hoping to prevent political fragmentation over what should remain a scientific endeavour. The public mood. For ordinary people, the story was not about strategy, but wonder. Families gathered in living rooms watching animations of the visitor's trajectory. Children asked their parents if aliens might finally be real. Philosophers and spiritual leaders offered interpretations, weaving the anomaly into ancient traditions of signs from the heavens. Sleep-deprived enthusiasts watched live streams from observatories, waiting for each new data point. The rhythmic pulse became something like a cosmic heartbeat, adopted by electronic musicians who mixed it into tracks. Could it be that humanity longed for mystery and 3 Atlas arrived precisely when it was needed? Is it possible that we projected as much meaning onto the object as it projected light back to us? A call for unity. In the halls of the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, a special session convened. Delegates debated whether humanity should issue an open message of welcome, broadcast radio transmissions toward the object, acknowledging its presence. Some urged caution. We do not know what, if anything, listens. Others saw it as symbolic. If it is natural, our message is harmless. If it is not, our message is historic. No consensus was reached. But for the first time, the thought of speaking outward, not just listening inward, entered the global discourse. Scientists at odds with themselves. Even within individual minds, conflict brewed. A seasoned planetary scientist in California confessed, "By day, I draft papers about cometary jets. By night, I stare at the pulse graphs and wonder if we are being watched. I feel like two people." This duality spread across disciplines. Mathematicians tested models of natural rotation. Engineers speculated about mechanisms that could emit such a signal deliberately. Psychologists studied the wave of public fascination, noting parallels to the early days of radio when the air itself seemed haunted with voices. The world was not merely observing 3 Atlas, it was mirroring it, pulsing with debate, speculation and dreams. The whisper of Mars. All threads converged on one point, the Mars encounter. Agencies scheduled telescope campaigns to coincide with the flyby. Satellites orbiting Mars were instructed to prepare for opportunistic data collection. The Perseverance rover, though fixed upon its mission on the ground, was ordered to angle its instruments skyward during the critical hours. Mars, already a symbol of human ambition, became a stage for cosmic theatre. Every eye, both human and mechanical, would be watching as 3i Atlas swept by. And still, the question lingered. Would the anomaly persist? Would the pulse quicken or vanish as it drew near? Would something happen that shattered all doubt? The hypnotic undercurrent. The rhythm continued, faint and steady, as days melted into weeks. Each dip in light felt almost like a breath, a pause, a whisper. What if this was not merely a scientific puzzle, but an invitation? Could it be that the object's timing, aligning with Mars, was meant for us to notice? Is it possible that for the first time in human history the cosmos itself was asking us a question? The global response, fragmented, passionate, fearful, hopeful, was in truth a reflection of humanity itself. We did not yet know what 3i Atlas was, but in trying to answer, we revealed what we were: curious, divided, but united in awe of the great unknown. The stars have always been mirrors. Long before telescopes, before spacecraft, even before written language, human beings lifted their eyes to the night sky and saw more than light. They saw meaning. A flicker was never just a flicker. It was an omen, a messenger, a whisper from forces beyond comprehension. And so, when astronomers today look at Through My Atlas and speak of pulses, trajectories and spectra, they're continuing a lineage that stretches back thousands of years. Every culture, every age has faced its own first anomalies, the ancient skywatchers. In Babylon, over 2,500 years ago, priest astronomers meticulously recorded the appearance of comets. They described them as hairy stars, scribbling their passages onto clay tablets baked in fire. To them, these visitors foretold famine, war, or the rise and fall of kings. The precision of their records astonishes modern historians, yet beneath the data always lurked the question of meaning. In ancient China, similar records abound. Dynastic chronicles describe blazing visitors crossing the heavens. One text from the Han Dynasty notes, "A broom star appeared in the east, and calamity followed in the west." The people saw patterns, cause and effect, weaving cosmic events into the fabric of human destiny. Could it be that our reaction to Three-Eye Atlas is no different? Is it possible that even now, armed with satellites and spectrographs, we still instinctively search for omens? The comet of 1060Es. History offers vivid examples of celestial echoes that changed the human story. In 1066, a great comet blazed across European skies. It was later immortalized in the Bayeux Tapestry, stitched above scenes of conquest and bloodshed. To the Normans, it signalled triumph. To the Saxons, disaster. And yet, stripped of human interpretation, it was simply Halley's comet, returning on its predictable 76-year cycle. A natural visitor. But was it meaningless? Or did its timing, coinciding with the clash of empires, give it a significance that transcended physics? Now imagine centuries from now a tapestry or perhaps a digital archive depicting our age. Would Three-Eye Atlas appear stitched into the narrative of the 21st century? Would future historians say, here was the moment humanity confronted the unknown and asked, what if? The blazing star of 1577. In 1577, the Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe observed a bright comet that defied expectation. Aristotelian cosmology claimed comets were atmospheric phenomena. Yet Tycho measured its parallax and proved it lay far beyond the moon. His discovery shattered centuries of belief. An anomaly, recorded carefully, forced humanity to redraw its map of the universe. The comet of 1577 was no mere omen. It was a key that unlocked new truth. What if? Three-Eye Atlas plays a similar role? Could it be that its rhythm, its strange alignment with Mars, will someday be seen as the anomaly that broke our old models wide open? Echoes in myth and lore. Beyond chronicles and measurements, ancient traditions wove deeper stories of cosmic visitors. In Polynesian lore, certain comets were said to be canoes of the gods, crossing the sky as emissaries. In Norse mythology, blazing streaks were linked to the fate of Ragnarok. Among the Maya, astronomical cycles were recorded with astonishing precision, tied to agricultural rituals and prophecy. Celestial anomalies were woven into calendars of meaning. Even the Bible speaks of a star in the east, guiding wise men toward revelation. Whether comet, nova, or myth, the story endures as a symbol of contact between heaven and earth. Is it possible that Three-Eye Atlas in our age is becoming the new myth? Not a divine messenger, but a cosmic one, interpreted through the language of modern science rather than scripture, yet stirring the same awe, the same longing. The Great Comet Panic of 1910. Not all echoes are reverent. In 1910, when Halley's comet returned, newspapers reported that Earth would pass through its tail, which contained traces of cyanogen gas. Panic spread. People bought anti-comet pills, comet umbrellas, even bottled air. The lesson was clear. Mystery can inspire wonder, but also fear. Humanity projects itself onto the unknown, and sometimes the projection is darker than the truth. Now with Three-Eye Atlas, there is no sign of physical danger, yet the psychological tremors ripple worldwide. Some whisper of alien machines, others of hidden threats, and still others simply close their eyes, smile softly and think, how beautiful to be alive when the cosmos comes so close. The long memory of stone. Even older than written records are the alignments carved into stone. At Stonehenge in England, at Chichen Itza in Mexico, at countless other sites, humanity raised monuments to the sky, alignments with solstices, equinoxes, lunar standstills, encoded in rock, meant to endure. If an object like Three Atlas had been visible in those ages, Might they have recorded it too in stone instead of pixels? Might we today mistake a monument for a temple when it was in truth a memory of a visitor now long forgotten? What if civilizations before us witnessed their own anomalies? Could it be that we are not the first to ask whether the cosmos is alive with intelligence? Is it possible that some of their answers are buried, waiting for us to rediscover them? The cycle of wonder. Looking across history, one sees a pattern. A strange visitor appears. Humans interpret it as omen, message, or miracle. Science advances, stripping away myth, replacing it with physics. And yet, mystery persists. Another visitor arrives, stranger still demanding new questions. It is a cycle as old as stargazing itself. 3i Atlas is not the first anomaly, and it will not be the last. But perhaps it is the most significant, for never before has humanity possessed instruments as powerful, data as precise, or imagination as daring. We are for the first time equipped to confront the unknown with both skepticism and wonder, logic and myth side by side, the present as futures past. Imagine centuries from now, future generations looking back. They will not see us as we see ourselves, anxious, divided, debating endlessly. They will see only the story, the moment when an interstellar visitor pulsed in rhythm and humanity paused to listen. What will they say of us? That we dismissed it as noise, another curious rock in a sky full of curiosities, or that we dared to wonder, dared to ask whether we were witnessing not coincidence, but contact. The hypnotic thread. As you listen now, drifting between wakefulness and sleep, consider how deep this lineage runs. From clay tablets to digital screens, from myths to models, humanity has always asked the same question when confronted with anomalies in the sky. What does it mean? And now with 3i Atlas we ask it once more. What if? We are writing the next chapter in a book begun thousands of years ago. Could it be that our ancestors were right to look up and feel awe, even if their explanations differed from ours? Is it possible that we too are standing at the edge of revelation, our own myths in the making? The echoes of history remind us we are not the first to look, to wonder, to dream. But perhaps we are the first to be answered. Science, by its very nature, prefers simplicity. When confronted with something strange, the first duty of the scientist is not to imagine extraordinary possibilities, but to test ordinary ones. Only when the natural fails completely does the extraordinary enter the discussion. And so, as the whispers around 3 Atlas grew, pulses, alignments, heat signatures, the most cautious minds stepped forward with their proposals. Their mission was clear: to restore this object to the realm of the ordinary. The case for rotation. The simplest explanation for the rhythmic pulse is rotation. Countless asteroids and comets spin as they travel, creating fluctuations in brightness. If an object is elongated, like a cigar, a shard, or a flattened disk, its reflective surface changes dramatically as it turns. This produces a periodic dimming, much like a lighthouse beam sweeping across the sea. In this model, the 7-hour and 41-minute interval of 3i Atlas is simply its rotation period. The abruptness of the brightness dips could be explained by its geometry. Perhaps the object has sharp edges, or facets of ice that glint and vanish as it turns. After all, Oumuamua displayed a light curve that scientists once described as unprecedented. Yet, in time, models suggested a pancake-like shape, tumbling chaotically, could reproduce the data. Why not the same for 3i Atlas? Is it possible that what seems like an artificial beacon is nothing more than sunlight playing across an oddly shaped rock, jets of gas? Another natural hypothesis centers on sublimation. As 3i Atlas approaches the warmth of the sun, frozen gases trapped within it begin to vaporize. These jets of gas can act like thrusters, altering brightness and trajectory. If the object has vents in specific locations, it might release gas in a regular pattern, triggered by its rotation. The apparent pulse could therefore be a combination of geometry and sublimation, a cosmic dance between ice and heat. Could it be that what seems like a deliberate rhythm is merely the echo of sunlight striking frozen fissures, releasing gas in harmony with the object's spin? Thermal hotspots. And what of the mysterious heat signatures, the warmer regions on the shadowed side of 3i Atlas? One explanation suggests buried pockets of volatile material insulated by layers of dust. As the sun's heat penetrates, these subsurface reservoirs may warm and release energy unevenly, creating hotspots invisible to the naked eye but detectable in infrared. Another possibility lies in surface texture. If the object's crust is coated with carbon-rich compounds, they might trap heat like a blanket, radiating it later from specific regions. Is it possible that these warm spots are not engines, but simply quirks of insulation, conduction, and chemical composition, non-gravitational accelerations? Perhaps the most troubling anomaly is the trajectory of 3I Atlas. Observations suggest subtle deviations from a purely gravitational path, as though something were nudging it. The natural explanation, again, points to outgassing. Jets of vapor act like tiny thrusters, imperceptible up close but measurable across millions of kilometers. This very phenomenon explained the odd motion of comets in the 20th century, before spacecraft confirmed their volatile behavior. Could it be that 3 Atlas 2 is simply coughing vapor into the void, adjusting its course without malice, without purpose, without design? The chorus of skepticism. Around the world, many respected scientists voiced these natural explanations with confidence. Rotation explains the pulse. Outgassing explains the trajectory. Buried volatiles explain the hotspots. Together, these ideas wove a tapestry of reason, a reminder that the cosmos is filled with complexity but not necessarily conspiracy. In their view, to leap to intelligence was to abandon the discipline of science. History is littered with anomalies that seemed unexplainable until new data provided clarity. Lightning was once divine wrath. Eclipses were omens of doom. Now, we know them as atmospheric charge and orbital alignment. Why should 3I Atlas be any different? The psychological mirror. Skeptics also pointed to psychology. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. We see faces in clouds, animals in constellations, intent in randomness. When we look at 3I Atlas and imagine a heartbeat, perhaps we are hearing not the voice of the cosmos, but the echo of our own minds. Could it be that the anomaly lies not in the object but in ourselves? Is it possible that 3I Atlas is silent and we are the ones giving it rhythm? The comfort of the ordinary. There is comfort in these natural explanations. They remind us that the universe is vast, indifferent, and governed by laws we can learn and model. If 3I Atlas is nothing more than a shard of ice and rock, then we are safe from the burden of contact, from the terror and wonder of knowing we are not alone. For some, this is a relief. To live in a silent universe is to live in a comprehensible one. To live in a universe filled with intelligence is to live in a mystery that may never be solved. And yet, the cracks in the natural, even as these explanations were put forward, not all questions dissolved. The rotation model struggled to reproduce the sharpness of the dips. The outgassing hypothesis required vents placed in implausibly neat arrangements. The thermal models demanded substances not yet observed in known comets. Yes, the natural explanations were possible, but were they likely? Science asks for the simplest explanation. But what if the simplest explanation is also the most extraordinary? The loop returns. What if? The pulse is too precise to be chance. Could it be that outgassing alone cannot account for the alignment with Mars? Is it possible that we are trying too hard to fit the unknown into boxes we already understand? The natural explanation holds, for now. It soothes the mind, anchors the debate, and prevents us from drifting too far into speculation. But like a blanket too thin for the cold, it does not fully cover the mystery. Beneath it, questions continue to stir. Every explanation, no matter how elegant, must eventually confront the test of data. And with 3I Atlas, the data did not always cooperate. The natural hypotheses, rotation, outgassing, buried volatiles, each provided comfort. They seemed to restore the object to the ordinary. But when examined closely, each carried fractures, subtle cracks through which mystery leaked like light through shutters. The rotation problem. Let us return to the most straightforward claim. Rotation. Yes, many celestial bodies spin, producing rhythmic fluctuations in brightness. But the sharpness of the dips observed in 3I Atlas defied typical rotational curves. A tumbling rock or elongated shard produces gradual variations, peaks and valleys, not cliffs. Like curves rise and fall smoothly as surfaces turn in and out of view. Yet the pulse of 3I Atlas was abrupt, as if someone flipped a switch. Even more troubling, the dips were unnervingly consistent. Over weeks of observation, spanning multiple observatories across the globe, the interval never wavered. Not once. Natural rotators often wobble. They process slow, speed up slightly under subtle torques. 3 Atlas, however, beat like a clock. Atlas, however, beat like. Could it be that we are mistaking the rhythm of machinery for the spin of stone? The outgassing puzzle. The second explanation pointed to sublimation, gas jets from icy fissures. Indeed, comets are notorious for unpredictable activity, but unpredictability is the key word. Gas release is chaotic, influenced by cracks, sunlight, and internal pressure. No comet in recorded history has ever maintained a perfect 7-hour rhythm of jets. To demand that from 3i Atlas required improbably precise vent placement and timing. Simulations attempted to reproduce the pattern. None succeeded without resorting to highly contrived scenarios. One model required an exact array of vents aligned along an axis, synchronized perfectly with rotation. Possible, theoretically, likely, vanishingly small. And again, the alignment with Mars loomed. Random outgassing might nudge the orbit, yes, but to produce a path that held one face oriented toward the red planet at closest approach, that stretched coincidence into the realm of implausibility. Could it be that we are forcing chance to wear the mask of intent? The thermal dilemma. Infrared readings brought their own contradictions. The warm regions of 3i Atlas did not behave like buried volatile pockets. Their intensity did not fluctuate with exposure. They did not cool as quickly as they should. Instead, they remained steady, radiating heat like embers beneath ash. Scientists proposed exotic materials, insulative crusts, even trapped energy from ancient stellar flybys, but none matched the observed persistence. In one telling paper, a researcher admitted, if this were a spacecraft with internal heat, the pattern would make sense. Since it is not, we must search for another explanation, a sentence that revealed more doubt than certainty. Is it possible that we are discarding the simplest fit to preserve the comfort of the natural? The radio ghost, then there was the signal. Officially dismissed as noise, privately it lingered in minds. Narrow band bursts are rare in nature. Static, yes. Broad emissions, yes. But narrow, clean slices of frequency. Those are hallmarks of engineering. And though the burst never repeated, its timing coinciding with a brightness dip gnawed at the skeptical narrative. Was it a coincidence or a clue? What if that single fleeting whisper was the most important data point of all? The statistical knife. When evidence accumulates, skeptics often lean on probability. Each anomaly alone may be explicable. A strange rotation curve, convenient outgassing, odd thermal retention, a coincidental radio burst. Each, taken separately, can be waved away. But together the weight builds. 4 anomalies do not equal 4 coincidences. They begin to suggest a pattern. Could it be that science's insistence on compartmentalization blinds us to the larger picture? That what we dismiss in isolation becomes undeniable in chorus? The human reaction. As these cracks widened, even the skeptics grew uneasy. In closed-door meetings, some admitted privately what they would not say publicly, that the natural explanations were not holding together as neatly as they wished. An astrophysicist in Geneva confessed in a journal entry later leaked, "I feel like I am holding a net full of holes, insisting that it still catches water. Each anomaly is a thread undone. I can still call it natural, but I no longer believe myself." Meanwhile, the speculators grew bolder. They began to publish cautious but daring papers, not claiming intelligence, but refusing to rule it out. They reminded colleagues that the universe is vast, and humanity arrogant to assume silence forever. What if the cracks in the natural are not flaws but windows? Mars looms closer. As the weeks passed and 3 Atlas drifted closer to Mars, the tension sharpened. Every telescope, every radar ping, every infrared sweep returned data that added detail, but never resolution. The pulse remained unbroken. The trajectory continued to hold its eerie alignment. The warm spots glowed. The memory of the radio burst haunted. It was as though 3i Atlas mocked the natural explanations, dancing just beyond their reach, refusing to collapse into simplicity. Is it possible that we are witnessing the limits of our models, not the limits of reality? The uncomfortable silence. The greatest flaw of the natural explanation was not a single contradiction, but its silence. When skeptics were pressed on specifics, why the dips were so sharp, why the hotspots persisted, they could only shrug and say, "We don't yet know." And that is true. Science often says, "We don't yet know." But in the case of 3i Atlas, the silence rang differently. It sounded not like patience, but avoidance. As though the answers were there, waiting, but too disruptive to name. The gentle escalation. Step by step the flaws accumulated. Rotation did not fully explain. Outgassing did not neatly fit. Thermal models did not hold. Statistical probability bent under the weight. One by one, the pillars of the natural explanation weakened, and in the cracks, speculation began to bloom. What if this object was never meant to be explained naturally? Could it be that by clinging to the ordinary we blind ourselves to the extraordinary? Is it possible that the flaws in the natural explanation are not mistakes but breadcrumbs? The quiet threshold. We are not yet ready to cross into certainty. Science still demands restraint, but with every passing night, every pulse recorded, every hotspot confirmed, the natural explanation frays further. Perhaps it will all collapse neatly into physics tomorrow, or perhaps tomorrow it will reveal the flaw that can no longer be denied. For now we stand on a threshold. The natural still holds, but only barely. The extraordinary waits, patient, on the other side. And Thriss Atlas drifts closer to Mars, pulsing, whispering, daring us to decide. For weeks the cautious explanations held sway. Rotation, outgassing, subsurface volatiles, probability and patience. But with every new observation, the natural scaffolding shook a little more. And in that trembling a new possibility emerged, one long whispered at the edges of science but rarely spoken aloud. What if 3i Atlas is not a rock at all? What if it is engineered? Crossing the line of speculation. The transition from natural to artificial is not made lightly. Science is built upon restraint, and speculation can be dangerous. But when anomalies persist and natural models break down, the imagination is not a betrayal of science, it is its extension. Now, one researcher wrote in a private memo later leaked, we venture into the realm of speculation. We must at least consider the engineered hypothesis, if only to test its plausibility. And so, slowly, cautiously, the conversation began to shift. The pulse's design. The first anomaly, the 7-hour, 41-minute pulse, was the most compelling argument. No natural process had yet accounted for its precision. But if the pulse were engineered, its meaning transformed. No longer random, it became a signal, a pattern, a beacon. Perhaps it was not communication in the sense we imagine, no language, no message, but rather a signature, a form of cosmic ping. A marker to announce presence, much as a satellite transmits a steady tone to confirm it is alive. Could it be that 3i Atlas is transmitting not to us but simply into the void, a machine repeating its purpose without regard for who might listen? The heat within. The thermal anomalies too took on new life under the engineered lens. Buried warmth no longer seemed puzzling. It could be waste heat, the inevitable byproduct of machinery operating within. Engines, processors, or reactors hidden beneath a shell of ice and dust. The steady glow was not inconsistent with technology. On the contrary, it was what one might expect from an ancient probe, its systems dormant but not dead, radiating quiet persistence into space. What if those faint hotspots are the embers of an intelligence far older than our species, still burning across the gulf of interstellar night? The trajectory question, and then the path. The way 3i Atlas seemed to orient itself toward Mars was, for the skeptics, coincidence. But for those entertaining engineering, it became something more, intent. Mars, after all, is not just a planet. It is the world most visible to us, most explored. Our rovers, our satellites, our ambitions are all clustered there. If an intelligence wished to be noticed, without directly threatening Earth, what better target than Mars? Could it be that 3i Atlas is not here for us, but for Mars itself, knowing we would inevitably be watching? Historical echoes reframed. The echoes of history now resonated differently. What if ancient hairy stars were not just omens, but visitors? What if the blazing comet of 1577 that shook Tycho Brahe's cosmology was not entirely natural? What if the myths of canoes of the gods, or stars of prophecy, were distorted memories of similar encounters, long forgotten? To entertain the engineered hypothesis is to look backward as well as forward, rereading the past through a new lens. Is it possible that this is not the first time humanity has been observed? The engineers themselves. Of course the question follows, if engineered, then by whom? Here speculation blooms like a galaxy. Some imagine civilizations millions of years older than ours, scattering probes across the stars like seeds. Others picture self-replicating machines, von Neumann probes, endlessly building copies of themselves to explore the galaxy. Perhaps 3i Atlas is one such machine, damaged, degraded, but still carrying its pulse. Or perhaps it is not a probe at all but debris, the broken fragment of something greater, wandering into our system by chance. Could it be that we are not witnessing intent but accident, the ghost of a machine adrift? Or is it possible that the pulse is deliberate, still serving a mission we cannot yet fathom? The question of scale. The engineered hypothesis does not demand that 3i Atlas be vast. It could be small, tens or hundreds of meters across. For interstellar travel, size is not the barrier. Endurance is. A probe need not be large to be intelligent. Consider Voyager, launched in 1977, still transmitting faint signals from the edge of our solar system. To an alien observer, Voyager would be nothing but a metallic shard, yet within it lies a golden record, a story of Earth. What if 3i Atlas is someone else's Voyager, passing us now as our own probes drift outward? The reactions to the hypothesis. Within the scientific community, the engineered hypothesis sparked unease. Some dismissed it outright, unwilling to step beyond natural models. Others acknowledged it privately but feared ridicule. A few, braver, or perhaps more reckless, began drafting cautious papers, suggesting non-natural origin as one line of possibility. Governments, too, reacted quietly. In Washington, security officials asked whether 3i Atlas could represent surveillance. In Beijing, strategists speculated about capturing it. In Moscow, whispers emerged of the ultimate trophy, a relic from another civilization. But in living rooms, classrooms and observatories, the response was simpler. Awe. The idea that 3i Atlas might be engineered transformed it from rock to relic, from anomaly to artifact. Humanity's story suddenly seemed larger. The hypnotic threshold. To step into the engineered hypothesis is to cross a threshold. The universe shifts beneath our feet. No longer silent, it becomes communicative. No longer indifferent, it becomes intentional. No longer random, it becomes designed. And yet the mystery only deepens. For if 3i Atlas is engineered, then countless questions erupt. Who built it? Why is it here? What is its purpose? Questions without answers, yet each one pulling us further into wonder. What if this is the first contact not with a voice but with a machine? Could it be that we are being observed not by creatures of flesh, but by their tools? Is it possible that our first glimpse of the other comes not in the form of beings, but in the silence of a drifting shard, awaiting Mars, and still, Mars waits ahead? The flyby grows closer, the alignment sharper, the anticipation heavier. If 3i Atlas is engineered, perhaps Mars will reveal it. Perhaps a maneuver, a change in pulse, a new signal will emerge as it sweeps past the red world. Or perhaps it will glide silently onward, leaving us forever uncertain, forever caught between natural and artificial, between skepticism and wonder. For now we can only wait. And as we wait, the engineered hypothesis lingers in the background, like a shadow that refuses to leave the room. The universe may be stranger than we know, or stranger than we can know. Speculation without foundation is fantasy. Speculation with foundation is hypothesis. And if we dare to imagine that 3i Atlas might be engineered, we must first ask, how would it work? How could something so small, so faint, so unassuming survive a journey across interstellar gulfs? What mechanisms might power it, guide it, preserve it? To explore these questions is not to declare certainty, but to stretch the imagination within the boundaries of physics as we know it, and just beyond. The shell and the core. First, consider its structure. To the naked eye, or to a telescope's lens, 3i Atlas resembles a fragment of ice and rock. Jagged, tumbled, ordinary. But what if that shell is camouflage? Beneath the crust of volatiles and dust, there might lie a core of engineered material. The shell could serve as shielding, protecting whatever is within from radiation, impacts, and prying eyes. Just as we coat spacecraft with ablative materials to endure re-entry, so might another intelligence coat its probe with natural matter to endure the harshness of space. Could it be that the comet-like surface we see is nothing more than a disguise, a way for technology to wear the mask of geology? The question of power. No machine endures without energy. So how, across thousands or millions of years, could an interstellar traveller remain alive? One possibility lies in radioisotope decay. Our own Voyager probes are powered by plutonium, its slow radioactive decay producing heat converted into electricity. Over decades, they continue to hum, faint but steady. Perhaps 3i Atlas carries its own isotope heart, still glowing faintly, radiating the warmth we detect as anomalous hotspots. Another possibility is fusion, long sought by humanity. A small, self-contained reactor could provide near-limitless energy for millennia. If so, the faint pulses of heat we see might be its exhaust, carefully vented. And yet another lies in solar sails, vast sheets of reflective material harnessing starlight for propulsion. If 3i Atlas once carried such sails, they might now be folded or degraded, leaving only fragments that alter its light curve in rhythmic ways. Is it possible that the pulse we observe is not a message at all, but the mechanical flutter of a sail remnant still beating softly against the solar wind? Navigation across the void. Power alone is not enough. To travel across the gulf between stars requires navigation. Our probes use star trackers, cameras that compare stellar patterns to maps stored within. An advanced intelligence might build something far more durable. Perhaps 3i Atlas carries sensors that lock onto pulsars, those cosmic lighthouses whose radio beams sweep with perfect regularity. By triangulating against them, the probe could chart its course indefinitely, or perhaps it drifts in hibernation, awakening only when conditions meet specific criteria. A trigger, like the warmth of a nearby star, could reactivate systems dormant for eons. If so, 3i Atlas may have been asleep until our sun roused it. Could it be that the pulse we see is not constant but an awakening, the machine stretching after a million-year slumber? Communication. If it is engineered, how might it speak? The narrowband radio burst detected once, and never again may have been a test, a probe of the environment. Or it may be that the pulse itself is communication, but in a language we cannot yet decode. Another possibility is that it does not speak to us at all. Its signal may be directed outward, to its creators, or inward to its own systems. Perhaps what we perceive as rhythm is merely self-diagnostics, a heartbeat not meant for alien ears. Is it possible that we are eavesdropping on a conversation between machine and master, one that never included us? The propulsion enigma. Trajectory remains one of the strangest anomalies. If 3i Atlas is steering, even subtly, how? Outgassing could be controlled, not random. Imagine vents engineered to open in sequence, using sublimating gas as thrusters. Primitive to us, perhaps, but effective over millennia. Or perhaps its propulsion is something stranger. Ion drives whispering streams of charged particles, electromagnetic sails catching not photons but the solar wind of plasma, or even gravitational slingshot intelligence, using planetary flybys deliberately, just as we do, to alter its path across systems. Could it be that Mars is not an accident but a maneuver, one chosen long before humanity learned to dream of rockets? The purpose of Mars, and then we come to intent. Why Mars? If engineered, its choice of trajectory suggests purpose. Mars is barren, but not silent. Our machines crawl across its surface, orbit its skies, transmit signals back to Earth. To an external intelligence, Mars is a beacon of human activity, noisier than Earth itself in radio terms, for its signals are unshielded, unfiltered, broadcast directly into space. What if 3i Atlas is not aimed at us but at Mars, to inspect the planet we have turned into a forward outpost of our species? Could it be that the probe seeks to study our machines, the way we might study ants to understand the colony? The time frame. If 3i Atlas is engineered, it may not be new. It could be ancient beyond reckoning, launched when humanity was still learning to walk upright. Its creators may be extinct, their civilization long faded, leaving only this machine as their echo. Or perhaps it is not so old. Perhaps it was launched within the last 1,000 years, from a neighbour star we have yet to catalogue fully. Its arrival now, coinciding with our rise into space, may be less coincidence than synchrony. Is it possible that the universe is filled with such machines wandering like spores, waiting to intersect with the rare blooms of intelligence? The hypnotic mirror. In imagining the how, we also reveal ourselves. Each mechanism we propose, nuclear power, pulsar navigation, ion drives, reflects our own trajectory of technology. We cannot help but project our inventions onto the other. But what if their how is something we cannot yet conceive? What if the very physics of 3i Atlas lies just beyond the horizon of our knowledge? Could it be that we mistake mystery for anomaly simply because we lack the language to describe it? The gentle unknown. And so the engineered hypothesis unfolds not as a single answer, but as a tree of branching possibilities. A probe with a decaying reactor, A machine disguised in cometary dust, a sail remnant beating against starlight, a dormant traveller awakened by the sun, a messenger drawn deliberately to Mars. Each how is plausible, none is proven. Together they create a spectrum of possibility that feels at once humbling and electrifying. The truth may be simpler, or stranger, or perhaps, in the deepest irony, the truth may be both. An object that is natural and artificial at once, a comet repurposed into machine, stone wedded to circuit, ice fused with intention. What if the line between natural and engineered is blurrier than we imagine? Could it be that 3i Atlas is neither rock nor machine, but something in between, a hybrid of geology and intelligence, the first of its kind we have ever seen? Is it possible that we are not looking at a visitor, but at a category of existence we never knew was possible? Every machine, no matter how alien, carries within it the shadow of purpose. Engines drive, antennas transmit, sensors listen. Even our own simplest probes, Voyager, Pioneer, New Horizons, were not flung into the void without intent. Each was designed with a why, whether to map a planet, test a theory, or carry a message. And so, if we dare to consider 3i Atlas as engineered, the next question naturally follows. Why was it built? The scout hypothesis? The most direct answer is that it is a scout. Our own species, still young, has already launched machines beyond the solar system. Voyager carries its golden record, a whisper of humanity etched into copper and gold. Pioneer bears a plaque, a map of our sun in relation to pulsars. These were not merely instruments of exploration, they were greetings, introductions, even announcements of our presence. What if another civilization did the same, long before us? Could it be that 3i Atlas is their Voyager, a messenger drifting endlessly, waiting for someone to notice its steady pulse? If so, the why is not conquest nor surveillance, but something gentler. Curiosity. To scatter seeds into the void, not knowing where they may land, is itself an act of hope. The monitor hypothesis. Another possibility, monitoring. Perhaps 3i Atlas is not a scout in the sense of outreach, but of vigilance. A probe designed to slip quietly into systems, observe, and move on. Not to declare itself, but to watch. Its pulse, then, may not be communication at all. It may be telemetry, diagnostics, a quiet self-report. Its heat may not be waste, but the warmth of instruments still running, still recording. Is it possible that as we gaze at 3i Atlas, it gazes back, recording our radio noise, our spacecraft around Mars, even our telescopes watching it? What if we are not the observers, but the observed? The beacon hypothesis. And yet another possibility is more symbolic. A beacon. Imagine a galaxy seeded with countless probes, each pulsing steadily. Together they form a lattice of markers, like buoys in an ocean, guiding travellers across the currents of interstellar space. Perhaps 3i Atlas is not unique, but one of many, a point of reference, a cosmic breadcrumb. Could it be that we have stumbled not upon a messenger, but upon a signpost, placed to guide intelligences greater than our own? The test hypothesis. There is also a darker possibility. What if 3i Atlas is a test? A probe left deliberately vague, its anomalies subtle, its presence ambiguous. A mirror held up to any civilization that discovers it. How we react becomes the experiment. Do we panic? Do we unite? Do we ignore it, or chase it, or worship it? In this view, the why is psychological. It is not about the probe, but about us. About measuring whether a young species like ours is ready to recognize intelligence beyond itself. Is it possible that 3i Atlas is not here to speak but to listen to our response? The relic hypothesis. And then, a haunting alternative. What if it has no purpose at all? Not because it was purposeless when made, but because its makers are gone. Civilizations rise, burn bright, and fade. What survives them are not their voices, but their artifacts. Perhaps 3i Atlas was once part of a vast network, a great endeavour across the stars. Now its siblings are silent, its mission forgotten, its creators dust. It drifts on, purposeless yet persistent, like a bottle in the cosmic ocean, carrying a message no one remembers how to read. What if its why is lost, and what we see now is not intent but aftermath? Could it be that we are staring not into the face of another civilization, but into its ghost? The Mars question. Still, we return to Mars. If its trajectory is intentional, then Mars must matter. But why Mars and not Earth? One reason may be safety. To pass near Mars is to be noticed without threatening. Earth, with its fragile societies and nuclear triggers, might react with fear. Mars, by contrast, is neutral ground, a planet where humans have machines but not lives. Another reason may be symbolic. Mars is our first step outward, our testing ground. To approach Mars is to approach our future, not our present. Is it possible that 3i Atlas is not speaking to Earth at all, but to the Mars we're building, the colony we dream of, the seed of humanity beyond its cradle, the Watcher's patience? If 3i Atlas is engineered, one truth becomes unavoidable. It is old. To travel across light years requires patience beyond our scale. Its journey may have begun before Rome fell, before pyramids rose, before humans learned to write. Its why may be simple observation, but observation stretched across millennia. We send probes with missions lasting decades. They may send probes with missions lasting eons. For them, patience may not be a virtue, but a necessity. Could it be that 3 Atlas is one of many such watchers, scattered through the galaxy, each waiting silently for intelligence to arise and notice? The mirror hypothesis, but perhaps the most unsettling why, is also the simplest. Reflection. 3i Atlas does not answer questions. It asks them. It does not explain itself. It forces us to explain ourselves. In confronting it, we reveal our hopes, our fears, our divisions, our unity. It becomes less a probe and more a mirror, showing us who we are when faced with the unknown. What if? That is the purpose, not to deliver knowledge, but to demand introspection. Could it be that the true why of 3i Atlas is to make us ask endlessly why? The hypnotic horizon, as the flyby of Mars approaches, all these hypotheses swirl: scout, monitor, beacon, test, relic, mirror, each plausible, each incomplete. The truth may lie in one, or in all, or in none. Perhaps the true why is beyond our capacity to imagine. Perhaps it is so alien that our metaphors collapse, our language fails, our minds cannot contain it. And yet, even in ignorance, the act of asking transforms us. To wonder why is to step into a larger cosmos. Is it possible that the question matters more than the answer? What if the why of 3 Atlas is not its purpose at all, but ours? Time, like gravity, is relentless. Every object in the universe is bound to its passage, from the slow burn of stars to the fleeting trails of comets. And for weeks now, humanity has watched 3 Atlas inch closer to a rendezvous that feels less like coincidence and more like destiny. The countdown is silent, measured not in seconds on a clock face, but in orbital mechanics, in kilometers, in the faint curve of a trajectory. And as the days shorten, the tension grows. What will happen when 3i Atlas sweeps past Mars? The date marked in red. The flyby has a date. The orbital models predict it precisely. A moment when 3 Atlas will graze past the orbit of Mars, close enough for every instrument in orbit and on the ground to turn their eyes upward. Already calendars are marked. Observatories have cleared their schedules. Radio telescopes, infrared arrays, even humble backyard lenses are preparing. It is as though the entire species is gathering to witness a cosmic appointment. What if this moment is not merely astronomical but historical? Could it be that centuries from now people will speak of this date the way we speak of 1969 or 1066 or 1577? The orchestra of observation. Never before has a single object been so comprehensively monitored. The James Webb Space Telescope will focus its infrared eyes, searching for new spectral lines. Hubble, though aging, will capture optical data at high cadence, charting every flicker of light. Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter will angle its instruments, attempting to glimpse the visitor from Martian skies. Perseverance and Curiosity, humble rovers crawling across the dust, will raise cameras, capturing time-lapse arcs in the thin air. Even amateur astronomers will join the symphony, their backyard telescopes adding countless points of data. Humanity, fragmented in so many ways, will become briefly united in a single act, watching. Could it be that this act of collective observation is itself part of the story? The probe forcing us into synchronicity? The weight of expectation. Yet beneath the scientific rigour lies expectation. The pulse has persisted. The hotspots have held. The trajectory remains uncanny. Everyone, from seasoned astrophysicists to casual skywatchers, senses that the flyby may bring revelation. But expectation is a double-edged thing. If nothing happens, if the pulse ceases, if the object drifts by silently, The disappointment will be profound. Yet if something does happen, the shock may be greater still. Is it possible that we fear both outcomes equally? The silence and the signal, the void and the voice, the human countdown. Around the world, anticipation builds in subtle rituals. In classrooms, teachers turn the flyby into lessons, telling children they may someday remember where they were when the data arrived. In observatories, scientists sleep in shifts, knowing the window for observation is finite and unforgiving. In living rooms, families mark the night on calendars, planning to stay awake, to watch live streams, to bear witness. And in dreams, perhaps, countless minds drift to the same vision, a dark shard gliding past Mars, pulsing, whispering, carrying secrets across the void. What if the true ticking clock is not in space, but in us? Could it be that we are counting down not to what 3i Atlas will reveal, but to what we are ready to hear? The risk of nothing. The skeptics remind us, anomalies often fade, signals vanish, data resolves into noise. Perhaps 3i Atlas will pass uneventfully, its mysteries dissolving into mundane explanations. That possibility haunts. After weeks of speculation, could it all end in anticlimax? A comet, a shard, a trick of light? If so, what then? Would we shrug and move on, forgetting 3i Atlas as quickly as we embraced it? Or would the memory linger, a ghost of possibility haunting us with the question of what might have been? Is it possible that the greatest terror is not revelation but disappointment? The risk of something, and yet the other possibility remains, that something will happen. That the pulse will quicken or shift. That the trajectory will alter in a way no natural model can explain. That a new signal will burst, undeniable, impossible to dismiss. This possibility too unsettles. For if 3i Atlas proves engineered, the implications ripple outward beyond science. Philosophy, religion, politics, security, all would be reshaped. Could it be that humanity is not frightened of aliens, but of the reflection they cast upon us? What if the true shock is not that we are not alone, but that we must finally confront who we are when we are not alone? Mars's stage. Mars looms larger with each passing day. The red planet, once the subject of myths, now becomes a stage for cosmic theatre. Its skies will host the encounter, its orbiting machines will serve as witnesses, its dusty plains will lie silent beneath the arc of a visitor. There is poetry in this. Humanity's future dreams of Mars, colonies terraforming new cities beneath domes, are now foreshadowed by the arrival of an object from another star. Is it possible that Mars has always been destined as the place where we first confront the other? What if the planet we dream of as our new home is already occupied by the presence of watchers? The clock ticks on. Day by day, hour by hour, the distance shrinks. Telescopes capture data. Servers fill with numbers. Papers are drafted in advance, waiting for confirmation or collapse. And all the while, 3i Atlas drifts silently onward, indifferent to our anticipation, or perhaps not indifferent. Perhaps its pulse is the tick of its own clock, counting down in parallel with ours. Could it be that our clocks and its are synchronized not by chance, but by design? The calm before. As the night of the encounter approaches, the world grows quiet. Speculation does not cease, but it slows. People sleep uneasily, listening for news. Scientists polish instruments, running final checks. Politicians stay silent, uncertain what words would even suffice. It is the calm before something, silence before music, darkness before dawn. We do not know what will follow, but we know the moment is coming as inevitable as sunrise. What if this is the last night of not knowing? Is it possible that tomorrow the universe itself will feel larger? The night arrives. For weeks the date has been circled on calendars, whispered in meetings and counted down in quiet anticipation. Now it is here. Across the Earth, from observatories on mountain peaks to living rooms glowing with live streams, humanity leans forward, waiting. Above the dust of Mars, 3i Atlas approaches. The stage is set. Mars itself is silent. Its thin atmosphere carries no thunder, no storms to announce what is coming. The red planet spins on, indifferent, its deserts stretching cold beneath the stars. Yet orbiters circle above, their lenses and spectrometers aligned. Rovers rest on its surface, their cameras tilted skyward. And Earth, millions of kilometers away, watches with every tool it possesses. James Webb sits poised at L2, its mirrors gleaming, ready to catch the faintest glimmer. Hubble stares with weary patience, still sharp despite its age. Radio telescopes across continents lean into the night. Even amateurs in cities and fields point their small telescopes and wait, hoping for a glimpse. The stage is set, the audience gathered. All that remains is the event itself, the moment of approach. The time arrives, calculations predict the closest passage, a moment measured not in minutes but in seconds. And then, from Mars' orbit, data begins to flow. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter captures a silhouette, a dark shard against the stars, moving faster than any comet it has ever tracked. The profile is irregular, elongated, its rotation is real, and yet the pulse persists sharper than ever, beating like a metronome against the void. On Earth, observatories confirm it. The light dips precisely as predicted, as if to mark the passage. Could it be that the pulse itself is synchronized with the flyby, a cosmic exclamation point written across the event, a signal? At the exact moment of periapsis, the closest sweep past Mars, something else occurs. A spike. Radio telescopes tuned to the frequencies of the earlier ghost burst register a sudden flare. Narrow band, sharp, lasting only seconds. The world holds its breath. And then, silence. The signal vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Instruments strain, but nothing repeats. The data is recorded, stored, analyzed, but in the moment, there is only stillness. What if? That was the message. A single word spoken across the void. Could it be that 3i Atlas has already said all it came to say? The Martian witness. On the surface of Mars, the Perseverance rover lifts its eyes. Its cameras, meant for geology and dust, capture a faint streak in the sky. To human eyes, watching later from millions of kilometers away, it looks like nothing more than a star in motion. But to the rover's instruments, subtle details emerge. The object glows not evenly, but in intervals. Faint flashes ripple across its body, not reflections, but emissions. What if? These flashes are deliberate, visible only against the thin Martian sky, designed to be seen not from Earth, but from Mars itself. Is it possible that Mars was the intended witness all along? The public reaction. As live streams relay images, social media erupts. Hashtags trend globally. Atlas flyby, Mars signal, we're not alone. Screens fill with replay loops of the faint radio burst, of the streak caught by Perseverance. For many, this is proof. Proof that 3i Atlas is more than a rock, more than chance. For others, it is not enough. A burst could be interference. A streak could be artifact. The debate rages, but beneath it lies something deeper. Or, no matter the interpretation, the event has united billions in a single moment of wonder. The ambiguity. And yet the mystery deepens rather than resolves. The signal was too short to decode. The flashes too faint to classify. The trajectory, though altered slightly, could still be explained by gas jets. There is no certainty. Only the widening gap between natural and engineered, between skepticism and belief. Is it possible just that ambiguity itself is the message? What if the purpose of 3i Atlas is not to answer, but to ask? The aftermath on Mars. Hours after the flyby, Mars is once again quiet. The rovers resume their work, grinding rocks, sampling dust. The orbiters return to mapping, scanning, transmitting. And 3i Atlas continues onward, slipping back into the darkness beyond, its pulse still steady, fading from the instrument's grasp. Mars holds no trace of its passage, no debris, no residue, no sign of contact. Only the faint memory of a light across its thin sky. Could it be that this was always the plan? To pass silently, leaving only questions? The human heartbeat. On Earth, the effect is profound. For nights afterward, people step outside and look at Mars, faint red in the sky, imagining the visitor that passed so near. The thought lingers in every conversation. We were watched, or perhaps both. Some sleep uneasily, troubled by the uncertainty. Others sleep peacefully, comforted by the idea that we are part of something larger. Children draw pictures of alien ships. Adults write poems. Musicians compose songs in the rhythm of the pulse. Humanity, once again, finds meaning in the sky, the hypnotic reflection. And so the climax comes not as revelation, but as deepening mystery. A signal too brief to explain, a flash too faint to resolve, an encounter too ambiguous to conclude. Yet perhaps that is the nature of the universe, to speak in whispers, not shouts, to leave questions lingering, drawing us ever closer. What if The flyby was not an end but a beginning. Could it be that the true climax is not the event itself but the way it changes us, forcing us to ask what we are ready to believe? Is it possible that the silence of Three Atlas is itself an answer we do not yet know how to hear? The event is over. The sky has quieted. Three Atlas drifts onward, receding from Mars, its pulse still faintly detectable but growing weaker with each passing day. Now comes the work of analysis. Data floods in from every observatory, every instrument, every improvised attempt to capture the visitor's passing. Terabytes of measurements, spectral lines, radio logs, images, models. The collective gaze of an entire planet crystallized into numbers. And yet, the more data accumulates, the deeper the unknown becomes. The radio burst. The first and most debated piece of evidence is the radio spike. Captured by multiple observatories simultaneously, it cannot be dismissed as a local glitch. Its narrow band nature defies natural emission. Yet it was fleeting, seconds long, without repetition. Too short to encode language, too precise to be noise. Analysts comb the signal, searching for structure. Fourier transforms, spectral decompositions, statistical tests. Some claim to see patterns, faint harmonics suggestive of intentional design. Others see nothing but randomness. What if the signal was not a message but a handshake, a simple acknowledgement? I am here. Could it be that its brevity was deliberate, a way of ensuring ambiguity, leaving us to wonder without certainty? The light curve. Next comes the photometry, the rhythmic pulse of brightness. During the flyby, the dips sharpened, aligning precisely with Mars' position relative to the object. Some scientists argue that outgassing jets, illuminated in just the right geometry, could create the effect. Others counter that the regularity is too exact, the alignment too neat. Models proliferate, some showing natural explanations, others hinting at geometry too symmetrical for randomness. The debate rages in journals, conferences, and quiet midnight conversations. Is it possible that the pulse is both, a natural rotation enhanced by something artificial? A hybrid phenomenon, neither rock nor machine, but something in between? The thermal maps. Infrared data from JWST reveals the hotspots in greater detail. They persist, glowing steadily even as the object recedes. Their distribution is uneven but patterned, almost like nodes across a network. Explanations abound. Buried volatiles, thermal inertia, unusual surface chemistry, yet none fully account for their consistency. What if these hotspots are not anomalies at all, but the intended signature of a system? Could they be radiators, vents, or the slow heartbeat of machinery buried beneath the crust? The Martian view. Perhaps the most haunting data comes from Mars itself. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter captured high-resolution images during the closest approach. The object appears elongated, fractured, its surface glittering faintly with what may be ice. But along its length, streaks of light appear, flashes too regular to dismiss as cosmic rays or camera artifacts. On the ground, Perseverance recorded the faint streak of its passage. In the thin Martian atmosphere, the flashes appear sharper, brighter, as though designed to be visible against the red planet's dim sky. Could it be that Mars was always the stage and we were only the audience beyond? The ambiguity of abundance. Ironically, the problem is not lack of data, but excess. Too many measurements, too many interpretations. Each anomaly can be explained naturally, barely. Each anomaly can also be interpreted as engineered, plausibly. The truth dissolves in the flood of numbers like stars blurred in long exposure. Is it possible that the data itself is the message? That ambiguity is the design, forcing us to confront the limits of our certainty? The division deepens. In the aftermath, the scientific community fractures further. The skeptics publish papers insisting on natural explanations, fractured geometry, sublimation vents, statistical illusions. The speculators write cautiously about non-natural origin, proposing models of hybrid probes, ancient machines, or intentional ambiguity. The philosophers step in, asking whether the question of natural versus artificial even matters, if the effect on humanity is the same. Governments, too, issue statements, measured, restrained, careful not to stoke panic or expectation. NASA calls the data inconclusive. ESA describes it as an extraordinary opportunity for study. China announces new missions to monitor interstellar visitors, framing it as scientific advancement. And the public, Watching from afar splits along familiar lines, belief and disbelief, wonder and dismissal. Could it be that 3i Atlas is less about what it is and more about how we respond? The persistence of mystery. Weeks pass. The visitor recedes into the outer solar system, growing fainter. The pulse remains detectable, but weaker. The radio silence deepens. The heat fades, but slowly, unnaturally, and still no consensus. Every telescope trained upon it feels like a hand reaching for a ghost. Every paper published ends with the same phrase: further study required. Every conversation circles back to the same haunting admission: we do not know. What if? That is the point. Could it be that knowledge was never the gift of 3 Atlas but mystery itself? The great unknown. And so we are left where we began, with questions. What was the radio burst? Why did the pulse sharpen near Mars? What sustains the hotspots? Why here? Why now? None are answered. All remain suspended in the air like stars at twilight, guiding us but never yielding their secrets. The great unknown stretches before us, vast and silent, and within it drifts 3i Atlas, fading from sight but never from memory. Is it possible that we will never know? What if? The purpose of 3i Atlas is not to be understood, but to remind us of the depth of what we do not understand. The human response. In the end, perhaps the most important data is not in numbers, but in us. For weeks, humanity was united in a single act of wonder. We counted down together. We watched together. We dreamed together. In a fractured world, an interstellar shard stitched a thread of unity, however brief. That too is data, a measure of how mystery can bind us. A reminder that the unknown is not a void, but a mirror. Could it be that the greatest discovery of 3i Atlas is not what it is, but what we are when we look at it? The fade to silence. Eventually the visitor will pass beyond our instrument's reach. Its pulse will dim into static, its heat into cold. It will vanish into darkness, as all things do. But the questions will remain, the papers will endure, the myths will grow. And centuries from now, when our descendants look back, they will see not only a shard of rock or machine, but the moment humanity paused, stared into the unknown and whispered, "Why? Step back. Breathe." Imagine the scene not from Earth nor from Mars, but from far above, far beyond. A solitary shard drifts through the solar system, pulsing softly as it moves away. Behind it lies a trail of questions, speculation, wonder. Ahead of it lies darkness once more. To us, it was everything. To the universe, it was nothing at all. And yet, in that paradox lies the deepest truth. The cosmos is not about us, but we are about the cosmos. Our gaze, our thoughts, our stories are woven into its silence. The scale of smallness. Consider the scale. 3i Atlas is perhaps 100 meters long. Against the backdrop of Mars it is a speck, against the sun an atom, against the galaxy invisible. And yet, from that speck came ripples across an entire planet of thinkers. From that fragment came debates in parliaments, whispers in bedrooms, questions in classrooms. A rock, or machine, no larger than a mountain road, shifted the consciousness of billions. Is it possible that meaning does not come from size, but from perception? What if the vastness of the universe is less important than the way even a shard can transform us? The long memory of stars. If 3i Atlas is engineered, it carries within it the will of a civilization perhaps long gone. If it is natural, it carries the imprint of a star system we may never see. Either way, it is memory incarnate, the memory of forces, of makers, of histories beyond our reach. The stars remember in their own way. They forge elements, scatter them, recycle them into new worlds. Every atom in our bodies was once inside a star. And now, in 3i Atlas, perhaps we have seen matter that remembers a different star, a different sun, a different beginning. Could it be that the universe is a vast memory and we are merely learning to read it? The cosmic mirror. The encounter with 3i Atlas reflects us back to ourselves. We asked, is it natural or engineered? But beneath that question lay deeper ones. Are we alone? Are we ready to know? What will we become if we are not alone? In its silence, 3 Atlas became a mirror. For skeptics, it reflected caution. For dreamers, it reflected wonder. For governments, it reflected fear. For children, it reflected possibility. What if? That is the role of the cosmos itself, to show us who we are in the act of looking outward. Is it possible that every anomaly is a mirror, every mystery a test of how we see ourselves, the perspective of time. Zoom out further into the timeline of the cosmos. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our species, Homo sapiens, has existed for perhaps 300,000. Civilizations, only a few thousand. Spaceflight, scarcely more than 60 years. Against that span, our encounter with 3i Atlas is a blink. But perhaps in cosmic time, blinks matter. A blink can be an awakening, a turning point, a threshold. Could it be that we're at the dawn of something, the first flicker of a larger story? What if the universe has always contained these moments, waiting for species to awaken, each in their own time, each with their own shard drifting past? The silence between stars. Even with 3i Atlas, the stars remain overwhelmingly silent. No fleets, no messages, no undeniable signals. The great silence persists, pressing against us like the void itself. Perhaps 3i Atlas was nothing but a rock, and the silence remains unbroken. Or perhaps it was more, a fragment of a network, a faint whisper in an otherwise quiet sea. The silence is not emptiness, it is possibility. In the absence of answers, imagination flourishes. That too is a gift. Is it possible that the silence is itself intentional, a kind of cosmic quarantine? Or could it be that silence is the natural state of a universe filled with civilizations too distant to overlap? Humanity's fragile place. We are small. Our world is fragile. Our civilizations flicker in and out of stability. And yet, we've reached a point where a single interstellar object can become a global story. That fact alone is remarkable. We stand at a threshold, not because of what 3i Atlas is, but because of what we are becoming. A species that looks outward, listens and dares to ask, what if? This was the universe's quiet way of telling us we're no longer confined to Earth, but part of something larger. The cosmic humility. The encounter humbles us. For all our instruments, for all our telescopes and models, the truth remains elusive. We do not know, and perhaps we never will. Perhaps 3i Atlas will recede into darkness, its mysteries unsolved, its data forever inconclusive. But that too is a lesson. To accept mystery, to live with not knowing, to understand that the universe owes us no clarity, no answers, only the beauty of its questions. Could it be that humility is the true gift of 3i Atlas? The great unknown ahead. As it drifts away, 3 Atlas becomes part of a larger story. Already, new surveys like the Virasi-Rubin Observatory are preparing to detect more interstellar visitors. Statistically, there must be many. Some will be mundane, some may be strange. Perhaps one day one will be undeniable. But even if not, the search will continue. Because once a species has glimpsed the possibility of the other, it cannot turn away. What if? The cosmos is filled with such shards, waiting for us to grow curious enough, patient enough, humble enough to notice. Is it possible that 3 Atlas is not unique, but merely the first door we dared to open? The hypnotic distance. Now it recedes into the black. The pulse grows faint, the heat dissipates, the radio silence deepens. Soon, it will be gone from our instruments, leaving only memory and speculation. But even as it fades, its effect endures. Humanity has shifted. We are no longer a species alone in its certainty of solitude. We are a species haunted by the possibility of company, and in that haunting lies wonder. What if? The universe is alive with watchers, each waiting, each pulsing softly in the dark. Could it be that one day, long from now, we will learn that we were always surrounded, but only just learning to listen? This section must feel like a soft landing after the long journey, gentle, soothing, looping back to the central question. It should not provide definitive answers, but leave the listener drifting in mystery, guided towards sleep by rhythm and repetition. We'll extend it to 1,000 or 500 words, weaving calm reflection, cosmic imagery, and hypnotic questions. Part 15, The Hypnotic Fade Out. The story of 3i Atlas does not end with revelation. It does not end with answers, or with certainty, or with the clear ring of truth. It ends, as all great mysteries do, in silence. A silence that is not emptiness, but invitation. The visitor drifts onward, slipping back into the black sea of interstellar space. Its pulse grows faint, its warmth dwindles, its presence recedes. Soon it will vanish entirely, another whisper lost among the stars. And yet, in its passing, it has left us something more enduring than data. It has left us wonder, the echo of questions. Even now, long after the Mars flyby, the questions remain. What was the pulse? Why the heat? Why the signal? Why Mars? Why us? Each question folds into the next, an endless spiral, a wheel turning without end. The answers may never come. But perhaps that is the point. The purpose of a mystery is not always to be solved. Sometimes it is simply to remind us that there are mysteries at all. Could it be that not knowing is itself the gift? What if certainty is too small a vessel to hold the infinite? The listener's drift. As you listen, your own breath becomes the rhythm now. Inhale, exhale. The pulse of your body echoes the pulse of the visitor. The silence between beats mirrors the silence between stars. You may feel your thoughts drifting like dust carried on solar winds. You may feel your eyelids heavy, like shutters closing against cosmic light. Is it possible that you're not just hearing a story but becoming part of it? A participant in the long human tradition of gazing upward, asking questions and surrendering to the mystery. The cosmic ocean. Imagine the universe as an ocean. Stars are islands, galaxies are continents, and between them drifts flotsam, fragments of rock, shards of ice, perhaps even machines. 3 Atlas is one such fragment, gliding past our shore before returning to the current. How many such fragments exist? Hundreds, thousands, millions? How many pass unseen, their stories unrecorded? How many carry pulses, signals, or whispers we lack the ears to hear? What if we are not the only shoreline they brush past? Could it be that other civilizations in other skies have already watched their own 3i, their own wanderer, their own shard in the night, and perhaps they too were left only with wonder? The thread of continuity. From the Babylonians to the Han, from Tycho Brahe to the astronomers of today, humanity has always sought meaning in the sky. 3 Atlas is but the latest chapter in that long book. Our ancestors saw omens, we see anomalies. They told myths, we write papers. Yet beneath the surface it is the same, the urge to ask, the yearning to connect, the refusal to accept that the sky is empty. Is it possible that this continuity itself is the answer? That our longing is the message and the cosmos simply reflects it back? The universe as lullaby. Think of the cosmos not as a puzzle but as a lullaby, each star a note, each planet a chord, each passing shard a soft rhythm, carrying us into stillness. 3i Atlas was one such note, brief, haunting, unresolved, a minor key that lingers long after the song has moved on. What if the universe is not meant to be solved but to be sung? Could it be that every mystery is part of a melody we cannot yet hear in full? The dissolve into sleep. The story slows now, like a ship gliding into harbour. The light of the visitor dims, the data fades, the questions remain but no longer clamour for answers. They soften, blur, dissolve. You may feel yourself dissolving too, thoughts untangling, drifting apart like galaxies receding in cosmic expansion, and that is as it should be. For sleep is itself a kind of interstellar drift, a journey through the dark, carrying questions that may or may not resolve in dreams. Is it possible that in dreams we touch the same mysteries, wander the same seas, listen to the same pulses? What if the universe whispers not in telescopes, but in the quiet corridors of sleep? The return to the central question. And so we end where we began. 3i Atlas. Rock or machine, natural or engineered, random or deliberate. The truth is hidden, perhaps forever. But the question remains, echoing across our thoughts. Is 3i Atlas truly just an interstellar shard, or the first sign that we are not alone? No final answer will come, only the rhythm of wonder, the pulse of curiosity, the silence that carries you into rest. The fade. Close your eyes, feel your breath align with the rhythm of the visitor. Inhale, exhale, pulse, pause, mystery, silence. The universe is vast. You are small, and yet in this moment you are part of it, cradled in its endless dark, carried gently among the stars. Drift now into the great unknown. Drift as 3 Atlas drifts softly, silently, endlessly. What if the universe is watching over you as you sleep? Could it be that in sleep you too become a traveller, voyaging among stars? Yes, drift now, drift and dream.